So very good evening. Today basically we're going to talk about HTML5. Now it's a very buzz, lots of people have been using it and still it's a very confusing. What exactly is HTML5? Is it same as HTML or HTML4 or any previous versions, or do we actually need to use HTML5 or not? Okay, so in this lecture we will be just browsing through various different features and differences between HTML and HTML5. What are the advantages of HTML5? Why we should actually be using HTML5 from now on forth. This is Dr. Zeeshan. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit that bell icon so you receive the latest videos and tutorials as we go along. Let's begin. Now, HTML5, what does it do? Basically, it's same as HTML, but has been enhanced, integrated with various new cool features, which allows us to do lots of new things on our web, allowing our web to become a complete web platform where every single task can be done on our browsers, and we might not rely on softwares that often. And this is why HTML5 has become so much popular and so advantageous. For example, it allows us to control the storage. Data can be stored on users' computers and web pages can read that data directly. The web pages can have flashier type with more fonts, shadows and other effects. So text can appear more interesting, more appealing with more effects on it. For example, the motion of objects, the animations can now very easily be controlled and tracked on your web browser using HTML5. Similarly, games, interactive games can run with just a browser without installing any additional software. And this is why now you see many games popping up just being played directly online on your browser, and you don't need to install them, you don't need to download them or so on and so forth. You can play them directly on the browser. That's entirely because of HTML5. The audio and video are now being played and supported directly by HTML5 again, which was not available in previous versions of HTML. So we were relying on plugins and supports of other additional resources to do these features. Now HTML5 does this automatically. Similarly, 3D technology called WebGL is allowing us to incorporate three-dimensional objects, three-dimensional environments directly within our browser without requiring any plugin or any third-party systems to be installed or integration. So directly using HTML5, we can have a 3D environment integrated in our systems. That is why 3D games are now becoming more popular on the browser. Video can be embedded in a web page without any plugin, which again becomes absolutely fantastic and allowing us to play more of the web browsers, having more of the videos as we go along. Okay, these are one of the features. Why HTML5 is better? Because HTML5 has more strong browser compatibility. Okay, it is able to support every single browser nowadays. It is able to support almost on every single device as well. It's extremely mobile friendly. You design your website purely based on HTML5, and the content are now being supported from your mobiles to your tablets to iPads everywhere you go. And then you can use something called native API, which allows us your web pages to be displayed like an apps on mobile phones. So that's again possible using HTML5. It has something called drag and drop feature as well. So on your browsers, you can drag and drop content, allowing us to develop more interactive websites. Online website development tools are available. Online interactive tools are available. Image processing, image development, image enhancement tools are available that allows us to drag and drop features and filters on our images. That's all because of HTML5. Similarly, integration and control of audio and video elements, again something that is allowing us to have more video, more audio being able to control directly on our web browsers without embedding any other plugin for that matter. If you continue from there, the faster web page load as well. So this is again one of the most features of it, that the web pages which are based on HTML5 are now loading much faster as compared to other pages, because it's not requiring on any other plugins, because it is not requiring on any other third-party systems. Everything is integrated within the HTML structure, so the pages are loading and understanding and reading the concepts and tags and elements more accurately, more quickly, loading more faster. The most amazing feature it has is that it allows us to have a complete website access on offline as well. So you can access and create your websites offline as well without requiring the net. Similarly, plays audio without the plugin software. I think we mentioned that. Displaying the 3D interactive objects and scenes directly on our browsers. So this is why we need to work on HTML5. How this HTML5 is different from previous versions. So for example, HTML5 uses new structures such as drag and drop and much more, like we discussed. HTML4 uses common structures like headers and footers. You cannot use drag and drop in HTML4 or previous versions. For example, if you have an image, you cannot drag and drop and place that image on another image in HTML4 or previous versions. You can do that on HTML5 now. HTML5 can contain embedded videos and audios without using the Flash players. In HTML4, you cannot do that unless you embed the Flash player on your browsers. So that's a big limitation. That is why we see now most of the blogs and websites that are coming now have videos, lots of videos inside them, because they do not now require you to embed Flash players. They just require you to directly insert the videos in your HTML5 code, which results in again faster pages as well. So HTML5 web pages are even loading much quicker and faster. HTML5 is capable of handling inaccurate syntax. This is something that is a huge benefit for programmers. We all know that HTML4 or previous HTML, even if you make errors, we call it super friendly, but it gave us no errors. We didn't know what the error was, why something is not happening like we wanted them to happen. However, in HTML5, they will complain. It will give you an error, it will give you a notification what's basically wrong with your code. And so it allows us to correct our code and identify the errors within our code more accurately. Continuing from there, let's create some more differentiating factors. HTML versus HTML5. HTML, there is no standardized process to handle structurally incorrect HTML code. There was no process. Like I said in previous time, there is no way of understanding errors. So for example, if you write page tag and you don't close it, it doesn't really matter. It still would work. If you write a bold tag but don't close it, it still wouldn't matter. However, HTML5 supports persistent error handling via improvised error handling process. What that allowed us to do, it allows us to understand that your paragraph tag is not closed, your image tag has no backslash in it, or the BR tag is not correctly written, and we are able to identify errors within our HTML code, which results in creating more accurate and better websites that are compatible across multiple devices. It is mobile friendly HTML5, whereas HTML4 is not mobile friendly. For HTML4, you had to manually recode and add the CSS that would allow our websites to be responsive to devices. HTML5 has that feature built in inside it. So we do not rely on CSS or any other thing, any other additional code to create mobile friendly, mobile responsive websites. HTML5 does it automatically. HTML4 or previous versions, no audio and video support for HTML. You were dependent on additional plugins or Flash plugins that allowed us to play audio and video. So additional plugins were required for that purpose, which made our pages heavy as well and took more time to load and browser dependent. However, audio and video elements can be integrated directly in web page using HTML5, which eradicates the problem of plugins, which eradicates the problem of embedding Flash players, consequently enabling our web pages to load faster as well. It does not support all major web browsers. HTML4 is not compatible with every single browser. You might have come across lots of web portals of universities that require you to use specific browsers for their websites to be viewed correctly, Chrome for example, or Firefox for example. However, HTML5 is supported across every single platform. So whether you're using Safari, Internet Explorer, or Microsoft Edge or Opera, the browser is no issue. The web page would be displayed correctly, accurately, same on every single device. Video graphics is possible when used in conjunction with Flash, Silverlight, or similar third-party plugins in HTML5. However, in HTML4. However, in HTML5, scalable vector graphics is integrated part of HTML5 language, which means that using a internal plugin called OpenGL, you can integrate 3D graphics directly on our HTML page without requiring any third-party plugin support or anything of that sort, making games being able to play on your web browsers more conveniently. That's why last few years you would have noticed a huge amount of games have come across that are being played directly on your browser, because HTML5 supports vector graphics directly within its code without requiring anything else. It does not allow JavaScript to run in the browser. In HTML5, we had a JavaScript limitations. What HTML5 does, it allows JavaScript to run in the background. You can run the JavaScript in the background, and that would evaluate various different conditions as the web page is being browsed and scrolled. Okay, so let's differentiate more. For example, before HTML5 we used document type loic. For example, document type HTML public and this entire long string, which obviously nobody remembers. We had it's copy pasted somewhere and we just copy and paste on our web pages. Okay? Or we took it from our, for example, notes. This is something that we need to write so that our web pages became compatible and had that metadata inside it. This is HTML before HTML5 in HTML4 or previous versions. In HTML5, now what we need to do is we just simply write hash block start exclamation mark document type. Again, the tag is same, however, just HTML. Simple, close it. There is no need of writing this entire complete long statements, which again, obviously, hardly any people memorize. We used to copy paste anyway. So instead of writing this entire line, now HTML5 just says, just write HTML. Right? That's it. I mean, it's HTML. What else you need to write? Why write so complicated statements? Okay, this is what it is, and it's just simply all you need to do. However, it is used for current older browsers that require specific document types. Okay, just keep that in mind. So without worrying, feel free to use HTML file document type. Figure element, for example. Consider the following code for an image with this caption. So before HTML5, we need to use, for example, a heading tag. That's not a part of it, but just a heading. Before HTML5, we used to use image tag, src, nature, image name, alternate text, about image, height of the image, width of the image, and then // close. This is a single line image, and then we used a paragraph below it, paragraph figure 1 nature image. This was a typical syntax with HTML4 or previous versions. There unfortunately isn't any easy or semantic way to associate the caption for it. The caption was basically a paragraph. Image didn't have a clue that this is associated with me. Okay, we had to ensure that the layout and the structuring would resemble that image contains a caption. And the paragraph actually appeared as a part of image caption. However, which again requires us to work on CSS and alignment and text formatting and everything on the sort. In HTML file, we use something called figure element. So now in HTML5, if you are using, instead of just directly using image tag, we use something called a figure tag. We specify a figure tag. What this will do is it will create a block of image as well as its caption. Okay, which now will ensure that your figure has an associated caption with it, which results in a better web page and better image being understood by the browsers. So the figure tag again has an image tag with source, alternative text, height and width. However, because now it resides inside a figure tag, it means that your image is more understandable by the browser, along with a tag called figure caption. Additional tag, but now it associates this figure tag with your image. Okay, so the results are better analyzed and understood by your image. Previously, this was just like a text, and you would have to use CSS and other attributes, CSS styles to ensure that it appears with it. However, in HTML5, now this appears a part of your image. Okay, so it appears as a part and there's a block, and it understands that this entire thing is as one unit. Similarly, no more types for scripts and links. Now, previously, this is something that we always said to our students, that whenever you use a link tag, we use a relation sheet and we use hrefs along with something called type text dash CSS or type.javascript. Okay. This was something that has to be written everywhere. Okay, I think I've just max placed these two things, but this is what we used to do. If I just minimize, so with a link tag, we again used to have a type /CSS, and similarly, even with the script tag, we used to have something called type /text /JavaScript. Okay, and the text has just gone outwards. However, with HTML5, we no longer need to write the type attribute. We just simply write link, relation, style sheet, and we give the hrefs of the style sheet. Or if you're using external JavaScript, we just use script, src, path to script.js, and that's it. No need to write this type and any of this types. Some boredom, some additional things are removed, and so on and so forth. So quote or unquote, again, this is something that we have been emphasizing a lot whenever we teach HTML. However, HTML5 doesn't require it, and still people don't understand it. Lots of students do make this mistake. When you use a paragraph tag with a class in HTML4 or previous versions, we always say write quotation marks start, quotation marks close, ID, and quotation marks close or ID close. So if you're writing in this format, or in paragraph single quotations. Either one of them was absolutely essential, necessary, you need to write it or it won't be read and so on and so forth. But HTML5, if you are following that standard, there is no need for writing double quotations or single quotations. HTML5 will understand that class is equals to, this is the variable value for this particular class. So this is an attribute and its value, attribute and its value. So HTML5 doesn't require double quotations or single quotations to be used. Okay, that's another cool feature with HTML5. Then one other attribute that we have available that again many people are not aware of is called the new attribute of content editable. As the name suggests, what it does is that it allows you to edit a web page's content. So for example, you can create an interactive website, a tutorial website, your own executable codes where students or teachers or people can come here and they can edit the content and see the output online as you go along. For example, in W3 schools, if you have seen it, there is an editable content page available when you go into its browsers. You edit the code right in there and it executes and you get the output. So the content become editable. This is how we do it by our standard thing. So in previous example, for example, in HTML4 or otherwise, we used to write unordered list items and list items, so on and so forth. However, now in HTML5, we are able to include something called content editable is equals to true. Okay, what this basically now means that your content is now editable. But this means that the user can edit the content of your list items at the runtime as they see it. Okay, and then you can use it for whatever purpose you want. For example, it can be a suggestion list and you can say edit the content, they can edit it and submit the new list for yourselves. Okay, so this is why it's becoming more popular nowadays. So editable content is something that you can use that allows us to edit the content on our browsers online. Audio support. No longer do we rely upon third-party plugins for audio support. Audio is an element that is now available within our HTML5 that you can use to incorporate audio files directly in your browser without relying on anything else. So we use a tag called audio. Autoplay is equals to autoplay, which means that your audio will be autoplayed as soon as the browser loads in. Controls, you can provide the controls for it or you cannot provide control. You do need to provide the source file for your file. It can be MP3, MP4 or MPV, any format that is supported by general browsers. Okay, so we use an audio tag. It has a start tag, it has an ending tag like our standard HTML5. Source tag with a closing tag. Again, the source is basically the source file for your audio. Okay, so this is a typical syntax we can write. What it means that now my audio is directly incorporated on my browser. Because I've enabled the controls, I will have a control player on my browser, and there is no additional plugin required to do that. Just these two lines. That's the magic of HTML5. Video support. We've talked about this. Much like audio, we are basically now able to incorporate video directly in our browsers without requiring any plugins. So HTML5, there is no standard. Before HTML5, there was no standard of showing video. Before HTML5, video could only be played with a plugin like Flash. The HTML5 video element specifies a standard way to embed a video in your web page. For example, video, another tag just like audio, we have a video tag, we have an autoplay feature, we have a control tag, same as audio. This allows us for an autoplay, video would play it automatically and the controls would be available. We can control the playback. The source, we can include whichever source it is. So same as audio, we just have a video change and the rest of the code is same. We can add additional content within our video as well. So for example, your browser is old, if it is not playing, we can use a link of a video, or we can provide the link of a video as a if the browser is old and if it is not being played. Okay, but these two steps are not necessary, we just play with it. This basically means that if your browser is old, you can download the video, but again, most people don't tend to do that. We can just give a video support. So just with the video tag, now my video is being played directly on my browser without requiring any Flash or any plugin, which means my video would be, and the web page would be much faster and accurately being played. This is a typical output we get. We will have a control video and we will directly be visualizing our video on it. Okay. Similarly, more difference if you go into HTML4, in order to design a complete layout of a web page, we used to have something called divs, and we create multiple divs and then we assign them IDs, classes, and then we went into CSS and we structured each of the divs accordingly. which was again a long and tiresome process. I have a video available. I will leave the description link below where we did this using CSS and created a 2-column or 3-column structure based websites. However, if you are using HTML5, now you don't need to use any of this. Instead, there are direct tags available. Header tag, article tag, navigation tags, footer tags, and so on and so forth. These tags allows us directly controlling and creation of various different segments. In HTML5, we use these tags without requiring any additional CSS. We can control and structure the content. I will be creating a tutorial and I will leave the link below of how we use HTML5 to structure the content. Similarly, there are various other input types and fields that we are available that we can use. So for example, previously in input type within a form, we used to have a text field, but now we have something called number, we have time, we have week, we have month, we have date. These are different input types that we can use. Email, for example. What this basically means, they are auto configured and auto validated. So the email will require you to enter an email. If any invalid text, you can control it. Okay, without going into JavaScript and doing form validation manually to a certain extent. Number will only require you to enter number. Okay, so we don't have to go into JavaScript and control the text field where the user is entering alphabets or not. So these are new things that are not available in HTML4 or any previous versions. You can have a color in email, number, range, date, URL, and so on and so forth. These are new types. Similarly, there are following some other HTML5 input attributes. For example, placeholders. Placeholders are basically the dummy text that appears on an input field, which just is for like a hint. So whenever user clicks on the text field, that dummy text is hidden, they can enter their own text. Okay, so that's called a placeholder, and that placeholder tag is now available in HTML5. Previously, it was not there. Then there is a required field. Why required field means that a user need to enter this data. So in form validation, we do not have to manually go and check whether there is text in a particular text field or not. We just use this field as required. So if it is not entered, we get error message right there and then. Autofocus, multiple, pattern, these are again various different fields. So multiple, basically, for example, autofocus, for example, means that as soon as user finishes one element, it has a focus. Next, it will go on autofocus as well. The focusing of each component or multiple tabs or multiple text fields are managed automatically. Multiple, it specifies that user is allowed to enter more than one value in an input file. So for example, multiple files being uploaded. Okay, we can have that. Pattern, the pattern specifies a regular expression that input element value is checked against. The pattern attribute works with the following input type, for example, text, URL, email, password, and you can specify a particular pattern. This pattern, it basically means that, for example, on a phone number, we specify a 093-digit code, which basically means that you need to specify a 3-digit code for your phone number, and it will follow that particular pattern, or an email address pattern, or for example a password pattern. You can validate these particular fields. Okay, so this was basically HTML5 differences, and obviously there are many more new features that are available. Do go and explore, and if you find something that I have not mentioned, leave it down, leave that comment down below, so that these are new features, and we will be trying to see how we can use them in future classes. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you're here for the first time, again, don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit that bell icon, and don't forget to like the video. See you around.